Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with,
John Ward.
yes, my co-host, who's
Yes.
been co-hosting this thing for me since the beginning of it. So we've been
Yes.
doing a lot, and
Yes, we have.
already we are at like basically the second to last of the Conjuring movies, and then we're gonna get into other stuff after.
Yeah.
But um. So I'm gonna go on the record as saying this is my favorite so far. We're gonna be talking
I
about
agree.
Conjuring 2. So far this is my favorite. I don't remember part three, but what I do remember of part three is not liking it. So
It's not going to
that's
be your favorite. It's just,
yes, I have a
this is my
feeling it
favorite
won't be.
also.
But
Yeah.
so far, this is the one with probably the highest rating. It will be the one that I probably this is the one I feel like has the most rewatchability of them all. And
Yeah.
I can
Third
tell
time watch for me, and I wasn't bored at all.
no, and I think the big thing with it was originally I was having a little problem thinking, oh man, there's like three different, care kind of beings, or whatever kind of things that, maybe even more that they're kind of dealing with, but the it's not. That didn't is not a problem at all. In fact, they did it kind of wonderfully because, and we'll get into that, all the different character, different kind of villains in this, thing. But
Well, I thought there
um
was only, oh, you're talking about like the Crooked Man in there and all that stuff.
right, but yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, there's only one, you know. However, these other things are kind of controlled by that one or whatever, or kind of a thing with
Right.
that one. So, and we figure that out toward the end of the movie, but it was
Well,
a little confusing with that.
well, I want to ask, and this isn't Conjuring 2, but I figured before we get into it, I'm curious of what your thoughts are. So I haven't seen Megan yet,
Mhm.
and that's James Wan universe. So that's why I thought I would ask. And I thought about this the other day. And I do want to see it because I actually watched a review on it that made me very interested in
Mhm.
seeing it. Do you think Megan is James Wan's upgrade?
Kind of like I almost felt like it was written by Lee Winnell, honestly. It had that kind of sharp sort of writing, which I saw who the writers were, and I didn't really recognize them. I think they'd worked with James Wan before, but I wasn't familiar with them. But yeah, there's a little bit of upgrade in there, I guess. I mean, it's
Yeah, they're
sort
both
of the
science
idea,
fiction,
science fiction-y.
both their
It's
first science fiction films.
and they're both sort of talking about how the future is scary and how basically, what we're doing right now, with the upgrade, it was about like, cars that are controlled by, self-driving cars and things like that, which is already happening. We're just not no I don't think anybody's being sold those yet, but like they do
Well, no, because
exist.
they're killing people.
Right.
They just had an incident in San Francisco with Elon Musk, drive by itself car, and it caused a major accident. So yeah, this
Um,
stuff isn't going to be ready for a long time.
I know the my favorite thing ever was, you ever watch Silicon Valley?
I know of it, but I never watched it. No.
There's an episode like where a guy gets into a self-driving car and he doesn't know it. He just thinks he's going in the back of a car, and then it starts driving him, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's going to he's like, "Where would you like to go?" Right? So he says the destination, the address, and it starts going, but then the owner of the car needs it to go back home, to go back to this thing, so it programs it to go back there, and he's like stuck inside the car and goes all the way to like a warehouse where in the on a barge in the middle of the ocean, where there's all these other you know doing stuff. There's nobody there. It's all just robots doing stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, yeah. I don't
Sounds about right.
it makes me not want, just like Upgrade did not make me want to have these self-driving things, because
Well, but Upgrade was also body parts. I mean, that's what I took more from it, is that
yeah,
it's a that it's arms that can turn into guns and all that type of stuff. And once I saw this review of Megan, which basically told the entire movie, so I know the whole film, I'm just like, shit, this sounds like it's James Wan's Upgrade. This isn't just, you know, Chucky. This
oh
is
no, it's not even Chucky really at all. I mean, people are comparing it to Chucky, but it's really not. I mean, uh, Megan is just the idea that that why not have something that nurtures people, you know? Why not have a toy that can basically be your best friend, right? Instead of and instead of like, the new Child's Play where they turned it to bad to from good to
so
bad.
stupid. So
Well,
fucking
that
stupid.
was a fucking Simpsons joke. Remember that? Like Krusty the
Well, yeah,
Clown
with the
doll
yeah,
was
it was
turned
a
from
treehouse
evil
of horror. Yeah.
good to evil or whatever. And then they just turned it back to good and stuff. And I was
That was
like,
my huge problem. Well, one of many problems with the new Child's Play is that why would anybody build into it an evil component? Like that doesn't make sense at
why? Yeah.
all.
I mean,
That I mean, it just goes to show that it didn't work at all. It just didn't work.
no.
And
So,
that even had a self-driving car in it in a way,
oh
because
yeah,
Chucky
it
controlled
did.
the car, or Tommy or whatever its name is. It wasn't Chucky, but
Yeah, I hated that. I hated that they couldn't even call it, I guess couldn't even call him Chucky, you
I am
know.
so glad about that, because at least it's something different, so then it doesn't piss on the actual Chucky franchise.
Yeah, that's true. And then they were already doing the TV show, so like, you know.
Season 3 confirmed. They're doing it. They already have that
Good.
little teaser out. I'm so happy
I
about
gotta
that.
buy the Blu-rays of both. Unless they don't have Blu-rays, they only have DVDs. I
No,
don't
they
care,
do.
but
Bro, well, they have season 1 is out, but season 2 hasn't come out yet.
yeah, and that'll come
But
out
they are
for
Blu-ray. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, it's a fall show, so it won't be out till near the end of the year, and probably the season 2 will be out, like September or something like
mm.
that, August, September. So, but yeah, I
Oh,
was just curious of your take on Megan and Upgrade. It just seemed like
yeah, it seems
James,
like an
that James Wan was like, well, shit, I think I need to make a science fiction movie.
yeah, and they did it somewhat.
Well,
It's somewhat similar, but I think that's because James and Lee have sort of a similar brain, in a way. They're very much alike. That's why they work well together. You know.
right.
So I dig both of those guys, and we'll get more into that. But to go back to my favorite Conjuring movie, so
I So is it your favorite Conjuring movie or your favorite film in this universe that we have covered?
in the seven movies or whatever, all of them together combined, it's my favorite.
Annabelle, The Nun, all that, it's
Yep,
your favorite.
all of that. It's my favorite.
I would agree with that. I think it's the best one
I think it's the best
out of
one.
all of
Not
them.
just the best Conjuring, because yes, it's the best Conjuring, but it's the best of the Conjuring universe. And I think it has to do a lot with the fact that the kids in this movie, I really actually really like them, you know, all. And there weren't so many. Like the first movie had like 8 kids or something. And it was just like, oh my God. And a couple of them I didn't even get to know at all, you know? The only problem I had with this one with the kids was that there was 2 boys in it, and both I thought were almost identical. Like I couldn't tell which boy was different from the other, you know? I know one went to go check the tent, you know, and stuff, but there were 2 boys, right, in this movie. That's
Yeah, there's the older boy, then the younger boy has the stutter.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I guess that's how you can tell the differences. One had the stutter, and one was older boy. But the one that the older boy was the one that went to go check his tent, right? Or was that was the
Yeah,
stutter?
no, that was the older boy went to check the
Yeah,
tent.
because
Yeah,
he yelled for
wouldn't
his
have.
mom or whatever and didn't stutter. The other one was yelling because the crooked man was coming after him. Um, so anyway, so you had two boys and I think it was like three girls,
Yeah.
and the one girl, Janet, I think was her name. I liked her a lot, like the main
Janet's the
girl.
lead, the
Yeah, she's
one,
the
yeah,
lead
that's on
girl.
your picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, she was she was so good. Oh man. She like just everything that they did with it. So let's go into the story of The Conjuring 2 is basically we start out on Amityville, which was pretty cool, you know.
Which is slightly incorrect.
Okay,
So it's that in it that one they skip the young daughter getting killed.
right.
So they only show Dawn getting killed. So I thought that was weird that they would show both parents, both sons, and one daughter. So I was thinking maybe that's in like deleted scenes that they just cut it because they thought it was too much. But there was nothing there.
And the
And
deleted
then
scenes that you saw, yeah.
yeah, and then the mother is shown as sitting up, and then she dies, like she falls on her back, she gets shot in her chest. None of them were shot in their chest, they were all shot in the back. And that's one of the things that the police found to be so weird, is why were all of them face down.
Yeah.
So that is a
Why did
little
they get that?
incorrect.
Like, why do you think that they did that, like, wrong? Is it because it looked better on screen or something? Or
Maybe I mean, maybe they wanted to kind of get the like one of them saying something to her, to why am I blanking on her name? Mrs. Warren.
yeah, Lorraine.
Lorraine, that they wanted to have somebody say something to her in it.
I don't know. Did
But
they?
it,
Did somebody say something?
well, yeah, the mom she goes into the parents' room. Yeah, and the order is actually wrong there. Is that the I believe they shot the mom first, then the dad. But and in the movie, the dad is shot first and then the mom. But it's, yeah, the mom's sitting on the edge of the bed, looks at Lorraine, says something weird, and then she gets shot.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. So that was
And see,
and
I'm not like a big Amityville person. As you are, you're huge into it. You collect every single Amityville movie, every single
it's
Amityville
getting
movie,
to it is, yeah, it's almost a shelf and a half.
every single one of them.
Amityville film. You
Yes.
could present to me a piece of dog shit, which most of them are, with a bow wrapped around it that says Amityville dog shit, and I would probably buy
Do
it.
you have Amityville Vibrator?
I do. I have it on VHS and Blu-ray.
Nice. I have the Blu-ray. You know, I'm not like I'm not one of the ones who's gonna just seek out it like you, like just seek out Amityville movies because I've got enough shit that I'm seeking out. But if I come across it or something, like at a horror convention or something, I see, oh, Amityville, I'm gonna pick it up, or whatever. But
Oh
other
yeah,
than that,
it's a hobby. I mean, it's just something that is fun, and so that's why I love that Conjuring 2 opened with Amityville. And at first, I thought, oh, why couldn't they just do the whole movie? Well, because they were only there for like a day, and then they left when they couldn't find anything. Well, they
nice.
did. Well, Lorraine did. She said the quote in the movie is actually what Lorraine said in real life, which is, this is the most evil place that she's
Ever
ever.
been to?
Yeah, so that's real. And then they did go on some news shows to talk about Amityville. So you couldn't make a whole movie out of that. So I'm happy
Interesting.
that at least like the first 10 minutes maybe
Hmm.
is it. And it's a longer film too. It's over 2 hours. It's like two oh like 213, 2 hours and 13 minutes, something like that, I
Yeah,
think.
which I was a little shocked at because I just watched a movie that was over 2.5 hours long, which is that Glass Onion movie, the Knives Out story or what mystery thing, from Netflix. But that was like 2 hours and like 32 minutes, and then I was like, oh God, and this one's like 2 hours and 12 minutes or something, you
Yeah.
know. I was like, oh Jesus Christ, their movies just getting longer and longer, you know. But I kind of like that. I didn't mind. This movie went fast for me. Like it was not
Oh
slow.
yeah.
It was not, for a movie that was over 2 hours, it was quick.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think they got it right. Like they knew what they were doing with the first one, but then with the second one, like they nailed everything right. You know, just and they talk about this in the behind the scenes is so the house that they're in is a set. And some of the outside is real, but then some of the outside is also a set. And what they had to do with the house, and as I'm sure you noticed how many one take tracking shots there are,
Hmm.
because James Wan and all the people that make these movies love those long tracking shots.
I love the one, I mean, because it reminded me of the Curse of La Llorona where, whatever, but like the long tracking shot of them upstairs going from one, kind of one room to the other,
Yeah.
showing off the house, which was pretty neat.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
that gives you an idea of what the house is, the
Mhm.
space of the house. But the production designer said that they actually had to make it wider and longer
Oh
than what
wow.
the actual house was because they tried to follow the original house. But because of James Wan wanting these tracking shots, they had to have enough room for the crew and then enough room for the actors. So, like the tent that's at the end of the hallway is much longer because they had to get the camera and everything in there to move.
Right.
And a
That's
lot
so
of
neat
this,
to know because like when you watch it, you can't tell, right?
no. And I think that it goes to show once again the power of James Wan is he could say, yeah, Conjuring was a hit. Now I want this house. It needs to be 2 times as big as the original because I want to do insane tracking shots. And I was watching from the first take forward where they had some great music from the 70s, which they've done in other starting of the movies. It going from the outside, it goes into the inside, it follows the mom and the kids. It's just tracking all around. And I kept rewinding it. I think the movie probably took me almost 3 hours to watch because I kept rewinding it, going, is there a cut here? And I think there's only one time where I thought, okay, I think this is a camera trick. But it's like, God, it's like when the two police officers are inside and the chair moves,
Hmm.
it follows them from the door through like another room into the kitchen, outside the kitchen, down that hallway. The guy grabs the chair, the camera keeps going back and forth. That entire scene is one take. I mean, it was awesome.
See,
How
it's
many times he did this was amazing.
I don't know what kind of camera they used. If they did use 35 millimeter camera, or if they used a what is it? Like a
I want
HD like
I
red
want to
camera.
say it was, yeah, more digital
If
because a
they
lot of the cameras they show were kind of like those Aeroflex cameras
Yeah,
where it's like a big rig hooked onto them and they can walk around it and it doesn't, do this. It has that like nice flow to it.
nice. So
Yeah.
okay, well then that makes sense because then we can say that what most likely happened because okay, so if you know anything about like Alfred Hitchcock or whatever, like the movie Rope, and
Yeah.
stuff. And the movie Rope has like a movie that is supposed to all like most of the movie, not all of it. People always says all of it. No, if you watch the first like 10 minutes of the movie or something like that, it does not do the one shot. Only does it when it gets into the party, and
Right.
stuff and all that. So what they'll do is the trick is and this is for people who are not filmmakers like us, who we probably already know this or should know this by now. But what happened is because film can only do like 10 minutes, before it cuts out, and you have to like, put in a new thing of film, right? Um, you have to do the scene, and then what they'll do is like the person will sit here, right? And or like maybe it's the back of it's like their back or
It's
something,
normally a
and
back. Yeah.
it's usually a back. The camera will go into the back, and pull back out. And when it pulls back out, it's a different cut. But generally speaking, you can't unless you're really like paying attention or you're really like, stopping. But digital film these days, we don't need that 10 minutes, or whatever.
Right.
You can just you what's that movie? 1917 is one of the movies that was notorious for doing that, where they had the long, takes or whatever, and nobody really they didn't cut. It was just long take after long take of the stuff happening. And that's amazing to me because that means that's almost like doing a play, you know, and making sure that everybody knows their lines, everybody knows their marks, everybody hits their marks at the right time so
Right.
the next scene can happen. Because if you fuck up, one person fucks up, I would not want to be on that set, honestly. Like, I would be too nervous to begin with because I'd be like, oh God, I'm gonna fuck up. And then once you already think you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna fuck up.
Well, that's why you got to rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it and
But
rehearse
even then,
it.
like one sneeze can ruin the whole picture, like something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
But also because it's digital, if something does get messed up, and they've done this before. Well, they'll take two takes and combine them together into one.
right?
So maybe the take of like the male officer is better than the female officer, and then a different take, the female is better than the male, and they'll just take those two takes and merge them together, and you never know.
Oh,
I mean, it's a big Warner Brothers or MGM or whatever can make it seamless.
nice.
Because I think that the when at the beginning when the camera's going around, you see it at one point, it kind of goes up and it goes over a wall into the oldest daughter's room, and you can hear the mom yell, "Hey, remember to get your uniform for school tomorrow." And the oldest daughter is like taking it out of like a hamper, and she goes, "I got it, mom." And then she leaves. I think when it goes up and into her room, that's the cut
Okay.
because it doesn't flow perfect. There's
Okay.
just a little and then it's like a little slower and then it goes down. And I think that's where it is, that they probably, yeah, we'll bring it up, we'll put it in just a little bit, cut, we'll go around, put the camera in the same position, and because it's digital, they can move it. And it's amazing because I'll use Joe Lujan as an example with like the Rust movies and the Immortal Wars. I've watched him edit from time to time, and he's moving stuff. Well, the new film that I worked on with him, um, oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking on it on the title, but his newest film, and he's putting like a little dead kid in all these scenes because he's My Little Nightmare. So he takes this little kid that was on a green screen, and he goes, okay, so we need him in like the bar at the club. He just boink, he does the lighting and stuff like that. Kid's in there. It's perfect. So he just shot all the kid stuff in like one day against the
Nice.
green screen. And so if Joe Lujan can do it on that small a budget, imagine what James Wan could do.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all those things, I mean, just his camera work in this is incredible. His um uh his direction is incredible, you
It
know.
looks beautiful. The film
It,
looks gorgeous. And I was watching, I told you earlier, the Crucifixion. And for people who don't know, it's from the producer and the writers of these movies. And I'm watching it going, this should look nicer. I mean, it looks okay. That rose is red and that wall is blue and the grass is green, but nothing is popping.
right.
Like it
See,
just should look better. And I think a lot of that has to do with watching these movies.
I feel like
Is
even some of the other ones, like even The Nun wasn't very like beautiful shot, you know.
The Nun it's very saturated. It's
Yeah.
very and some people have said it's ugly, and I don't think it's ugly at
I think
all.
it's ugly, but I don't think it's as beautiful as, The Conjuring, with James Wan, the stuff that James Wan does because I think James Wan and Mike Flanagan are the closest guys to like Hitchcock that we have right now, of people who actually study uh shots and know like how to frame everything perfectly. And where, like, I'm gonna give an example of the scene with the war well Lorraine Warren running up the stairs during the Amityville scene where she goes around and she runs up the stairs. The way they frame that shot, like kind of crooked, kind of whatever, just gave this like creepy sort of like actiony vibe that a lot of these movies just I feel like they kind of don't have that. Now, we talked about Curse of La Llorona and how James Wan sort of co-directed the movie without like uncredited co-direction,
Yeah, for the
basically.
making of it, definitely looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think that was the case, and I think that's why the movie does look beautiful at times and does have like flair to it that, some of these other ones, these other directors won't have. I'm just hoping that this guy's learned a lot from James, you know, because he's directing The Nun 2. He did not apparently do very well with the Conjuring 3. So I'm surprised he got The Nun 2 after
Well,
that.
that I would say with Conjuring 3 is the story. The story is just not interesting. It's just not,
It's the
maybe the
writing.
Warrens were involved in it. It's just not that interesting to the point where, like I've told you before, it's very Hollywood. Even though all these movies are Hollywood, this is the only one that really stands out as
As
being,
feeling Hollywood. Okay.
yeah, it's like I'm not entirely buying this story
Okay.
because I mean, really, all the guy just killed somebody, and that's really it. I mean, he killed one guy who kind of deserved it. When you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the guy was just a fucking asshole.
Hmm.
And then I think they added in some of the, oh, he was taken over type of stuff, and that's when the Warrens were involved. But everything else in that film just seems so X-Files, um, just way over the top that
Right.
it's
And
like,
this
oh,
felt more grounded but see, I think a lot of it has to do with James, like I think I think what's the place called? Like Enfield or something, or
yeah, infield, yeah.
Enfield, England, that was just that I feel like was probably like a baby to him, like he was excited about it. Like, you know,
Yeah, in the behind the scenes they were trying to figure, one, they said of course they had to do Amityville, but he did say that this is a story that he's been interested in because it was known as Amityville, like
of England.
the of England, yeah,
Which
type
they
of thing.
mentioned in the movie. They were calling it
Yeah,
the Amityville of England. And so I get it, but they were calling it that because they all thought it was a hoax. They all thought it was fake and everything. And
I
right,
mean, I still think all this is fake. I don't
right,
believe any of it
right,
happened.
right, right.
And
But in the world of the movie,
in the world of the movie, yeah.
in the world of the movie, it's you're supposed to believe it. Sort of. I mean,
That's why I think that scene is so great when Janet's just throwing stuff around in the kitchen.
yeah,
And then it's just like, oh crap, is this really a hoax? I mean, is this, maybe maybe this is all fake.
yeah. Then it turns out that nope, she was just being possessed by an actual demon, not a
No, 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 not for that. Not for that scene. She was the the old man who was being controlled by the nun. What he told her, if you don't get them to leave, I will kill them all. And so she
right.
wasn't possessed. She just went into the kitchen
Right,
and
right.
started
But the old
flipping everything
man
around and
was
breaking
telling
everything.
her, talking to her, which makes me think possession. Like he was still inside her
Oh,
head.
I'm thinking possession is like your picture there. That's more of
Yeah, when she
possession for
was like,
me.
yeah, when she was kind of taken over by Valak, was that his name? The nun's name was Valak.
Valak, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I forgot at the time that Will Colossal stole that name for Bloody Nun 2, and I kept saying at the beginning of the film that the demon's name is Valak, and I'm like, God, that name sounds familiar. And then it wasn't until I started watching the Conjuring stuff, and I'm like, damn it, Will, you stole Valak from the Conjuring.
which is not good because Bloody Nun too is like that could literally probably get you in some trouble, wouldn't it?
I
Sorry,
mean,
Will.
if it's an actual, demon, let's say, then probably not. But if they made it up, if it's their property,
If it's their
then
property,
maybe.
I don't
But
know.
these
Can
guys
do you
aren't too
I mean, can
concerned.
you copyright names in the movies? Like once you've created a script, right? Do you own the trade unless you trademark it, you don't own the names of the characters, right?
I mean, if your character's name is Darth Vader,
Right. But
yeah,
that's trademarked.
but it
Like Star Wars have, and I'm sure Lucasfilms trademarked Darth Vader. There's absolutely no way.
well, yeah, probably his image and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
but
It's
I
just
don't
like the
think
same as
that's
thing with Jason. I was doing a um interestingly enough, I was doing I wanted to do a fan series called Crystal Lake, the series. Now there actually is a Crystal Lake series getting made by Peacock, and they didn't ask me to fucking write it. God damn it.
their
Kind of bitter
loss.
about that because, whatever. But theirs is actually doing more of the actual what happened to Jason and exploring the mother and, all that stuff, I think is what I've heard. Because they still don't, there's still problems with the rights, and stuff. However, that was the thing. Like, so back then, I had did Crystal Lake the series, and I got a cease and desist by Crystal Lake Entertainment saying you can't make this series because you can't. We have copywritten the image of the hockey mask, and we have trademark of Jason Voorhees, you know. So
I don't know if all that's entirely true because there have been plenty of horror films out there that have used the hockey mask as an homage
I know,
to
and
Jason,
but
and there
it's not the
is
same
water
hockey
out
mask.
there that
See,
says
they have
Crystal
a
Lake.
specific hockey mask if you ever look at it. It's the one with the like little thing at the top and everything. And so if you actually use the hockey mask that Jason uses, sort of thing, then you're in trouble, which our promos did.
But those are even different. I mean, the one in part 5 isn't the one from part 4.
Right, but they're still sort of the same look and the same thing. They just might be a different color or something. It's the same hockey mask.
I mean, also it has the cut in it. So
Right. I mean, if you look at a movie like
I don't know. I mean, where
was it
were we going with the copyright thing as far as Conjuring goes?
because
I'm
of
now lost.
Valak and Will.
I think if Valak is a demon name, like a real demon name,
Right, which I don't think it
then
is. I
it's
think
fine.
it's a name created by the
None of
Conjuring
these
universe.
guys care about copyright. I mention copyright all the time to them, and they don't care.
No, I know.
And it seems that unless they're going to be making a lot of money off of it,
Right, unless
these
you're gonna actually
studios
make
don't
a
care
huge,
either.
yeah, unless you're gonna make a huge thing or you're gonna profit. If it's a fan film like Crystal Lake series was gonna be, you're gonna profit off of their whatever image, then they don't want that. But anyway, the thing is, like, yeah, you're not going to make a lot of money on, um, what is it, on for Valak, probably. But, I don't know. It's just to me, it's a bad idea, and I always try to stay away from copywritten things. Sometimes I throw them in my scripts, and I shouldn't. So I try to get away from that, you know.
It's best just to come up with your own stuff. I mean, like the Paranormal Activity films, that new film that came out, Next of Kin, they say that the only thing that is taken from the other movies is the name of the demon.
For
So
what?
the name of the demon,
And which one?
next to.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
it's a standalone movie that has nothing to do with all the other ones, but the only crossover that it has is the name of the demon that Katie was like possessed by.
Oh, okay.
So so they so it's that type of thing, is it's their demon, it's they created it, they named it. So now they're using it throughout their films. So then if I went ahead and made, I don't know, paranormal storage facility or something and said that demon's name, they could probably sue me.
Yeah, they probably
So
could.
you,
They probably have the rights to that name, trademark that name. I mean, that
yeah,
would be the smart thing to do is trademark all the names of your characters. Just like I'm not gonna make a movie and then call my character Captain America, you know, or the Incredible Hulk, you know? Like I'm pretty sure people be like, dude,
well,
create
remember
something,
there is, was it Bulk,
the amazing bulk.
the amazing Bulk? So that's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. You gotta create something that's similar sounding. Uh, but that's more like, isn't that more like a parody, maybe?
It is. It's supposed to be kind of comic booky and all that type of stuff. So it's. I just think it's best just to stay away from that stuff. That's why in any of my films, people are just wearing shirts like this.
Don't wear
I don't
stuff with
want to.
logos,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
want logos. I don't want a band. I don't want a movie. And all these people do it. And you're watching all these films with,
independent films
you
you're
know,
talking about, really.
yeah, like the films that you and I are related to, they're like Star Wars shirts or Jaws, or it will say Basket Case or something.
Or
And
they'll
I'm thinking
have
like, dude,
a
that's not.
the poster behind them that they don't have the rights to the poster image, you know? And it drives me
Yeah,
crazy because I'm like, dudes, don't do that. So anyway, whatever. It's not to do unless they had, they could have one with the Conjuring, and that's, not cool. Don't to bring it back to the Conjuring. Don't do that. Um, just make your own original shit and put up your own original posters. You know,
yeah. I mean,
simple.
that's and also this would be my last thing on it. Unless you're just not planning on the films being anything,
Right. If you're
you
not
know,
planning to
if
sell it and make huge profit off of it, like to use an example, Terrifier 2, I guarantee you, in the new Terrifier, there is no, like copywritten shit that they have all over it because they were planning to put it into theaters and they made 12 million fucking dollars off of it. So good for them. Off a
yeah,
$250,000 budget. So good for
I mean,
them.
if you're somebody that I think wants to make movies, like real movies in Hollywood, let's say,
Yeah.
you just want to avoid that type of stuff. But if you're like a lot of the people that we know who just make movies and it's more of a hobby type of thing or whatever, go for it, I guess. Put in as much
I mean,
copyrighted stuff as you want.
yeah. Um, some of them do it professionally, but they don't make a huge amount of money off of it, you know. Um, but all right, so we're gonna go back to this movie. And I sent you a quote that I really liked from it. It was one of my favorite quotes in the movie, probably
Oh
one of
yeah,
my quotes from the thing. But I don't
it's a
know
funny quote.
who's worse, the demons or the people pretending there's demons. And then, of course, she said the demons are worse, which made me laugh because you had a lady who doesn't believe any of this shit exists. Like they think
Right.
all of this is hoax. Like it'd be like you talking to the Warrens, be like, well, it's all hoax. I like to watch these movies, but I don't believe in them, right? And then the people who actually dealt with these stuff going, yeah, no, it's actually worse to, like have the demons are worse than those people because
I mean,
yeah,
in the world of The Conjuring, yeah. I mean, the demons are the worst than somebody who's faking it. So
yeah.
because faking it doesn't really hurt anybody, but demons do.
Well, it hurts. It hurts people's time and that kind of thing where people are like because remember in the first I think it was the first Conjuring movie, the Warrens were there. Maybe it was also Annabelle comes home, whichever it was, but they would go to people's houses and they would check and they would tell him, no, this is, this was actually just caused by this and this, that there's
Yeah, I
no
think it was
ghosts
The
at your
Conjuring.
house.
Yeah, they go up into the attic and they step on the piece of wood, and that causes something the reaction to something, and
Yeah, and they're
yeah.
like, yeah, it's not actual ghosts that's doing it. It's just, it's just science, or whatever. It's just this
Well,
happens.
that's what they said with the Amityville house is that it's in the movie, that the original movie is the window falls on the kid's hands, and they said that that window would open and close, and then they went in and they put their foot on one of the floorboards, and when they put their foot on it, the window shut up, and then when they took their foot off of it, the window came down. So there's like videos out there that completely destroy the everything that they said happened in the house. They said that
Right.
the flies, they had reasons for that. Jody the pig was a cat. That it was that they had reasons for everything. That's why
Hmm.
I tend to think none of this stuff is real, and why it was all a hoax to keep Ronald DeFeo off death row.
There you go.
Which he was
Um,
such a fucking weirdo that when you listen to any of his interviews after that, it's like maybe he was better off.
being on death row.
Yeah.
So he got prison time, right, though, for obviously like prison, but he didn't go like did he get life in prison or anything?
Yeah, he got crazy. And so yeah, he was in there until he died in
Oh,
prison, which was only like a few years ago.
yeah. So anyway, go back to this. So we got yeah, I mean there's the fake the idea that in the beginning, what is it? They're talking about the Amityville uh stuff, and the fact that there's somebody telling them that they're wrong, that they're fake, that they don't know what to, that they're on
I
like a
love that
news
scene.
segment. It, I want to find that. Like, I wonder if anybody has, if that's a real thing, if that was a real
I believe so.
show and stuff. And some guy said that, and the Warrens got really upset, like Ed especially, because he was like, "You calling my wife a liar? I'm gonna
I
beat your
believe
ass
it
up."
is on YouTube. I believe that it is on there. I don't know how you would, maybe just
Look it up.
Warren's
Yeah,
Amityville or something,
maybe.
but I don't think it's as angry as they showed in the movie. But I do love how Ed just defends her. To me, the best part of this film is their relationship,
Hmm.
not the ghost, not all that stuff, but their relationship is incredibly well written, and the
I
stuff
agree.
with Ed, defending his wife, and then Lorraine, you could really see that they're in love, and then the whole scene of Ed, playing the guitar to Elvis, I thought was great with the
Yeah, I
kids.
was like, wait, why didn't he ever play Elvis? Like
Yeah, he does
obviously.
a great impersonation of him, but you could see Lorraine's eyes and just
Hmm.
how much she loves him. And then the very end, when she puts on the album and they're just kind of dancing,
I love
I think it's great. It's the best that their relationship is in all the movies.
also they both tell Janet the story basically of how they
Yeah.
they both fell in love, and then so the second time Janet actually says to him, and you married her, didn't you? And he looks at her and goes, "You've heard this story before,
Story
huh?"
before. Yeah.
Which made me laugh because yeah, we all heard it, with Lorraine, but it's the same thing where they both found each other, and they've done this before. They did it in one of the other ones too, where they talked about that, where they've I think it was Annabelle comes home. They talked about how they found each other, and she felt very lost, sort of, and then she found him, and he was sort of like her protector, and he really is.
Yeah, they seem to, because obviously The Conjuring 2 was the second one made. And so they seem to, anything that really worked well off of that, they tried to do again in other films, and it didn't work as well.
Yeah, like in Annabelle Comes Home. Yeah, so there was that, and it was also the whole part of like I'm kind of getting tired of doing this, stuff. Let's not do this, And I was like, it's funny because I saw Annabelle Comes Home. We saw that before this one, right? And so I'm already getting tired of like it's almost like you know, was it Glover, Danny Glover saying, I'm getting too old for this shit. And I'm like, why are we getting this so early on in the Conjuring universe? Like maybe they were probably not expecting them to continue, as much or whatever. But like in the beginning, she's like saying, I don't want to, I'm thinking we should not do any more take on any more cases, and stuff. And she said it also in Annabelle Comes Home, I believe, you know.
Well, a lot of that has to do, and of course, with the order that we're watching them, is that
Right.
she, and I thought this was weird, is that she had Ed's the vision of Ed's death twice. So she has it, and it's both in Conjuring 2 that she mentions it, that she has that vision of the tree, and it gets to be that point,
Mm-hmm.
and then she says that she had the same that's the vision that she saw when they did when Frenchie was having the exorcism,
Right.
and she screams, when he looks at her, and I'm like, so, and he goes, is that why you stayed in the room for 8 days?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I don't know if I like that she's had the same vision twice.
Twice.
I like, because I kind of like maybe not knowing what it was with Frenchie that freaked the shit out of her. Like, we don't need to know everything,
Yeah. I don't know.
you know.
I, I don't
Oh,
know.
and Anna Fenn, I'm sorry, and I thought it was funny that the daughter de-aged.
That's true. Yeah. She was yeah, it was a different person playing it, and then she got younger, I guess, in it felt like, in the Conjuring 2. So that's a mess up right there. But
So Conjuring 3, she should jump age again.
yeah, just like I'll fuck around with it. It becomes like the next Halloween movie where, it doesn't matter, they could be a whole, I mean, it's a whole different person anyway. I mean, none of the, and Judy is never this played by the same girl, twice. Um, I like the Judy from Annabelle Comes Home better than that one just because we got to know her a little bit more, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get to see too much except for freaking out when she saw the nun, which I was like, how can she see her too? Did
Well,
they?
because we've been getting through the whole series so far that she's got the same power as her mom does. Because
Oh,
she can
well,
see the priest.
that's
Remember, we were
true. She saw
making
the
jokes
priest.
that they should make a movie called The Priest,
They should. Why
and
not?
then it could be the nun versus the priest.
Please don't do that. Like I'm
Uh,
I'm okay with everything else, but like a versus in this world just feels
and it just has the two
weird.
heads, like Freddy versus Jason poster, where it's like the nun looking at the priest.
You know what? They should look romantically, like they're about to make love.
Just feel like
You
they're
know, it
about
could
to
be
kiss.
it could be the nun and the priest, and it could be a love story.
Well, the first nun versus the priest is like a straight out horror movie. Like, everybody loves, like, oh my god, this was great. And then they make a sequel and they decide, you know what, let's put more humor in it. And then maybe at the end they can hook up,
You know
and
what? If you're gonna do that, you might as well make it a musical.
oh god, fucking
Was it
Joker.
like Joker?
I will not be seeing that movie. I have nothing against musicals, but I no, this is not this is almost a fuck you to everybody because they didn't want to do it.
Is that really why? Okay, that's
That's what
funny.
I think. They both of them, Joaquin Phoenix and what's his face, the
Todd
director.
Phillips, yeah.
Yeah, Tough said that they didn't want to do it.
I, I don't even know why he got stuck. Like I can understand doing the first Joker, because it's something different. He's the Hangover guy, like
Yeah, but everything, if you look at his films, they all lead up to the Joker. If you look at the first Hangover to the last Hangover, I mean, the first Hangover is comedy. The last Hangover is like really dark. and
Yeah.
gloomy, and you could see his films slowly kind of get up to where the Joker is.
Okay.
So
So there you go. Todd Phillips directing a Conjuring movie. That would be that would be interesting. And that's the cool see the cool thing about the Conjuring universe, other than James Wan, who is a huge name, especially because he did, the Fast and Furious movies and Aquaman and all that other stuff. So it's, he's not just the horror guy.
right.
Um, but the other directors aren't big names. It's not
No,
Mike
they're
Flanagan
given
directing.
chances.
Yeah, they're not getting Mike Flanagan, who has did a Ouija, which, did the best Ouija movie ever. Um they're not giving him a Conjuring movie because, that would be what Hollywood would normally do,
Well,
you know.
I think it's because they have their own camps. So you have the Mike Flanagan camp where he uses his wife, the same producers. He's now got Netflix. He uses a lot of the same actors. So a lot of that stuff is the Mike Flanagan camp. And then you have like the James Wan camp and it's all those people.
I'm
And
sad you don't
he
have a Sam Raimi camp, really. You don't. Sam does
there was the Sam Raimi camp, and that's like
the Evil Dead movies.
Campbell and Scott Spiegel and Ted Raimi, like all these guys were all kind of together.
That's true. But
It's like Raimi
now
was
it's
the
kind of
the main guy.
like now it's just Bruce Campbell, like, stepping in. I don't think Ted even comes into any of this. Like, he wasn't in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness or anything.
No, I
Um,
mean Scott Spiegel was in Spider-Man 2.
yes, he was. He was.
Yeah.
So
So
was
from
Bruce
time to
Campbell.
time he throws him a bone. Yeah, oh yeah, well Campbell's in like almost every
All of
one of
them.
his
Yeah,
movies.
every
Yeah.
every, and so is his car. His cars and everything. Um, So I showed you before one of those things where, I think I showed you. I sent you a screenshot, I think, of of two directors, James Wan and Kevin Tenney, talking to each other,
Yeah.
and I thought that is the coolest thing. Like, how effing awesome is that? Like, you get to
Yeah.
watch one of your two of your two amazing directors who, one inspired the other, and everything, and they're both so cool to each other, and they both love each other. But, like, I bet in a way James Wan inspires Kevin, to when he makes it, if he makes his next movie or not. But I just love to
Well,
see that.
especially after that post, I would think that
Right.
that would so it's and that's the nice thing about James Wan is he does respond. It's
And he didn't, like, because he wasn't tagged in that post. He just saw the post. He was friends with them, and he saw he was Night of the Demons, and he was like, that was one of my favorite scenes, growing up or whatever. And I thought, how fucking cool is that? Like, he didn't even get tagged, and he just saw something and goes, "Hey, I like that scene. Let me go and let this guy know I'm a fan of his work."
yeah.
And to me, that spoke a lot because, yeah, I'm a fan of both of those guys. Like, I love Kevin Tenney. I got Witch Trap. I've got, well, I need to get all the Night of the Demons and other stuff that Kevin's done. Um, I eventually will. And I bet a bunch of them are on, like, Arrow or Vinegar Syndrome or, all that stuff. But the fact is that, those guys are out there, like, that Kevin was in the 80s doing the 80s stuff. And a lot of people went to the video stores back in the day and rented these movies, and stuff. Then later on, they become super famous directors, making their own projects.
But I think a lot of that has to do with that they are film fans. So James Wan would be a fan of his. And but the thing is they're not ripping him off.
Right.
And I think that's the problem with a lot of the people that we know at our level is everything's a ripoff. Everything has to look like something that already exists. The poster has to look like something else. And I'll say I'm guilty of doing that too. But it's you I think to move up, you need to be influenced you could take from, but you have to make it your own and do it
Yeah.
your own way. And it's not like James Wan invented that traveling shot. I mean, it's been out there for
Yeah.
decades. I mean, Goodfellas, Swingers. I mean, it's in all these movies. I think they even did it in Casino.
I mean, they
And
mentioned in Swingers of like, they mentioned the and it was Reservoir Dogs, too, did the same tracking kind of thing where things like that.
yeah,
Like they pretty much just mentioned all of this stuff and yeah, you're right. It's a matter of like uh, making your own stuff, but you know, eh, like okay, so you look at Swingers and you look at Dick Lyman did Swingers, right? After that, nothing he did was anything like that because that was just in the script that that in the script it was to talk about everybody rips off everybody, right? That's, right? That's the style of cinema, that's the whole point of cinema. So everybody rips off everybody. They have that whole scene. Doug Liman doesn't do that again in another movie, you know, just
well, because
continues doing,
a lot of that's Favreau, because Favreau
yeah,
wanted to direct the film, but Doug Lyman's dad is rich, and so he gave the money to make Swingers, and that's how Doug Lyman directed Swingers. But Favreau said that he wanted two scenes, no matter what. He had to have two scenes, and that is the Reservoir Dogs shot of them walking down the street, and then the Goodfellas shot of them walking through the club. And there's one scene that's 100% Favreau is when he opens up the fridge and the lights on him. And then he closes it and he flicks on the light to the kitchen. Then he flicks the light off again. He opens it up and the light to the fridge is when he's talking on the phone. That's like 100% Favreau. All that stuff is. So
yeah.
I think that it's okay for you to pay tribute because you're also saying in the audio commentary, which is where I heard it, of where you're taking these films from because you are such a film fan and that you love these movies that you're taking them from. And eventually, who knows, you may even be working with some of those people. I mean, Robert Rodriguez, it was on Mandalorian. So it was you. But I think that the problem with a lot of the guys that we know is it's just ripping off. It's not in tribute to, it's just blatantly ripping stuff off.
Well,
So
I mean, when you take
how
a logo and you make the logo look like another logo, saying, like
yeah, a
exactly
little
like that.
too close
Yeah.
to yeah, and
And
this
and
is
people still say, "Oh, that looks like a nice homage." It's not a fucking homage. It's a
no,
ripoff.
and people watching this won't really know what we're talking about, but that's
Good.
okay. It's yeah, it's I'll mention to them that I saw a filmmaker's logo and just went, man, this is ripping off another logo, and I shared it with you and a few other people who are like, oh my god, this is, can you be
Right.
sued for this? And
I think technically you should be, you know. Um,
yeah, so it's, and I think that's where, like if I were to make Aximus and then tell my cameraman, okay, I want a shot coming from outside the storage facility. It needs to go up through the stairs, up to the second level, down the hallway all the way to. I could say I've learned that from James Wan. I learned it from Martin Scorsese. I learned it from, that
right.
I'm not ripping somebody off because it's my own shot, but I took it from somebody else that I respect and admire.
I when I was shooting my movie, my short film, The Invited, which was Ghost Story, I wanted one specific shot that was very much Jaws, but it was also Jaws got it from Vertigo, which I think got it, whatever, right? So like it's that obvious shot of like everything else being pulled back and the person
Yeah, it's,
being pulled forward. Yeah.
yeah.
And I really like that shot. Unfortunately, in my case, it didn't work because it was just too dark, you know, and stuff, and we didn't light it well enough where it it would work, for it, and it wasn't it didn't work. and stuff. So I wasn't happy with it, but it wasn't, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't the DP's fault. It just didn't work, for
But
that shot.
that's funny because that's known as the Spielberg shot, not the Hitchcock shot. It's known as
Mm,
the Spielberg shot.
right.
So if you're on set and you go, I want the Spielberg shot, people, your cameraman should know what you're talking
Yep,
about.
exactly. But
So
I actually did say Jaws when I said it,
or Jaws shot. Yeah, I want the
yeah,
Jaws
because I
shot.
was like, yeah, and my camera guy, which is John Johnson, who's the director of like Plan 9 remake and other stuff. He was actually he's like, oh yeah, okay, okay, and he even said that there might be a problem with doing it, but we'll try to make it work, and it didn't work, but we tried it, and it was the only time that would particularly that scene that shot could happen, or whatever. So it was what it was. We tried it, but it was an homage, but it wasn't like I wasn't going, oh my God, I'm gonna rip off him. It was just like that would be cool if we could have that shot in there, you know.
What are you doing? What are you
Your
doing?
cat is just having a fun time.
He just wants attention.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just that's why I think that you can look at Conjuring 2 and you can get so much from it. Good music, good lighting, good acting, good camera work, and just by watching behind the scenes, is that it just once again it just looks like everybody's having fun, and it's just funny is everybody's way up here, James Wan's way down here, and he's just this thin Asian kid, from Australia with the spiky dyed hair, and he's around all these people that just like tower over him, but they all look like they have so much fun,
Yeah.
and I think maybe that's also another reason why he keeps getting people back. Why Warner Brothers lets him do what he wants to do, and it's I mean it's really I mean God, they showed like in behind the scenes where Janet, where she's on the ceiling and she goes through it to the other room, and how they did that it's flipped, and
Oh,
she's just
neat.
on a piece of wood. Like there's nothing around her. It's just wood. And of course it's all CGI'd. And it just the piece of wood just drops. And she's on it. She just drops. And then they flipped it, CGI'd it, and it made it so she goes up onto the next floor.
That was pretty cool. I like that scene. Um,
I just wonder, like, and James Wan's talking about this stuff like it's like he's just putting on a new pair of underwear. Like it's so simple. It's so,
well,
and I
to
wonder,
some
like,
people like
fuck,
him and like people like
how is this
Hitchcock,
easy?
yeah, to them, people like that, they know exactly what they want, right? Like, look at Hitchcock with The Lodger, his first big movie that's like known as the first Hitchcock movie. He had a scene where you were looking through a I think you were like down below a table and you were looking up into, right? And he just got glass, ta like he cut a hole in the ground and he shot up, things like that. It's just neat what people they know what to do, you know what I mean? They know exactly what their vision is for it and they know how to do that. I'm not necessarily there yet, and nor do I know if I ever will be as a director, you know? Like I don't have the talent that James Wan has, right? You
But
know?
I guess my thing is like okay, so like on the making of the Phantom Menace, you see the entire room has all the storyboards,
Hmm.
and Lucas has like three pins, and they're different colors, and he goes, green screen, practical, green screen, and he's like marking everyone off. This is blue, this is green, this is, each one means something, and he's going through and he goes, oh no, I messed up, like he put green when it should have been blue, and everybody laughs, and it's like, how the fuck do you know that's practical and that's a green screen? Like, how do you, for something like Pulp Fiction, there's no aliens, there's no ghosts. It's just them filming people walking on a street.
Hmm.
Okay, I get that. But how would you know what to do first day on set on The Conjuring?
But then you look at
Like,
something like Kill Bill, and I guarantee you he has storyboards figured out because all his shots are like there's a shot up here, shot down here, the practical,
well, he gets
all
more
that stuff.
technical, yeah.
He gets more technical on those. So, like, I mean, obviously on his first couple movies, he wanted the first three, especially, which were Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown. He wanted something more easy going for him, where it's mostly two people talking and then shooting each other, or whatever.
Well, and Jackie Brown's a good example. Is that beginning with the credits with Jackie Brown on the escalator in the airport?
Escalator, yeah, I like that scene.
That's The Graduate.
Oh,
That's
nice. So,
that's the opening to The Graduate. And but the thing is, nobody's going, oh my God, he's ripping off The Graduate. People go, is that from The Graduate? And you're like, yeah. And like, oh, that's cool. He must like
yeah,
The Graduate.
exactly. But I think it's because he did it well enough where it doesn't feel like a ripoff,
No, and
necessarily.
it really does matter how
It,
it's done. But
yeah, it
these,
feels like an homage.
I mean, watching Conjuring 2 and even some of the other ones, just with these, I mean, I'm amazed at how some of these movies. I
But
know how
see,
they're done,
but
but I
see,
just I'm amazed at how they're made.
Tarantino never took his band apart logo and made it look like something else. There you go. See, I mean, there's the way that Tarantino works is okay, so I've seen interviews where he talks about how uh he did not rip off that one movie that he pretty
Yes, he
clearly
did.
ripped off,
Yes, he
right?
did. Yeah,
He
it's
he
called
said
City on
he said that
Fire.
he
Yes, he
uh,
did.
probably I think he had seen it, but that was not, he was
There's
like maybe that was in the
dialogue
back of my
from
head,
it.
whatever it was. Anyway, the point is, but if you're gonna rip something off that like not many people have seen, you know, Bloody Nun 2. I mean, whatever, go rip that off. And other than Will Colazo going, "Hey, did you do an homage to me?" You know, nobody's gonna go, "Oh man, he completely ripped off," you know, that movie. That's
Well,
a
I've
smaller
I've
movie
now
than
watched some reviews of Bloody Nun 2, and people are going, "Oh, Valak, he took that from The Conjuring,"
right.
and or I guess Conjuring 2, because that's
Yeah,
if we watch it in the order that we're doing it, it came earlier, but
yeah, with
yeah,
the
it would
nun.
start. Yeah, it would start with Conjuring 2, but nobody is saying to Bloody Nun 2 like, "Oh, what an homage!" Oh, he must really love the Conjuring movies. No,
Well, it's
instead it's just
because, I mean, and I hate to say it because when you're gonna do the Bloody Nun 2 after a movie called The Nun just came out, you
like,
know, like it's gonna seem like you're doing that, you're doing those like it was that guy on YouTube that we watch, the guy that does the countdown, the horror countdowns or whatever,
oh, horror timelines. Yeah,
horror timelines, and he talks about like Conjuring ripoffs, or whatever. He doesn't do Conjuring homages, you know. He calls them Conjuring ripoffs,
yeah,
because most of the time it is like, okay, the Nun did very well in the box office. That's out. Let's make a Nun movie, and stuff, which is fine. Look, all for that. How many shark movies do we have? Most of them rip off Jaws, you know, right? To the point where John Johnson's actually making a movie called Shark You Son of a Bitch because of all the how many times that people have put in that line of you son of a bitch, smile, you son of a bitch, or eat this, you son of a
you
bitch.
you know. The funny thing about that, I'll make this short since it has nothing to do with the Conjuring
Conjuring.
2. It's I saw Jaws as a kid when it originally came out, and then when it was re-released. So I don't really remember much of it, but I would watch it on TV, and because it's TV, that line is censored. So he goes, "Smile, you son of a boom,"
Yeah. Oh,
and all of a sudden, I got it on Blu-ray, and it's "Smile, you son of a bitch," boom. I called my friend and went, dude, he says "son of a bitch." It's not "son of a boom." And we were like so amazed, like, oh my God, it's just like this line's been censored for how long?
That's
and
weird
now
because
it's
the
okay.
4K is actually Smile You Son of a Boom.
Oh, yeah, no, it's Smile You Son of a Bitch.
Yeah, so so I guess sometimes they put it back in, sometimes they take it back out. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, everybody knows it as Smile You Son of a Bitch, and even though like most of the time it's actually censored, it's really funny.
I
Um,
would probably do it the way that I know it. So I would if a guy had a rifle and he was aiming it at a bear that had dynamite on it or something, I'd probably go smile, you son of a, and then fire the gun just because that's how I know it.
yeah,
And that so I would say,
that's
oh yeah,
the
I'm ripping off the TV version of Jaws,
right,
not the
which is
movie version.
well, there you go. That's the better version, and that's the one everybody knows mostly, anyway, but Smile
Oh,
but
oh, so but before we end this and everything, so did you watch the deleted scene I sent you?
I did. Well, I watched the whole thing, even though you said to turn it on 2 minutes in. Um, I honestly, the one I guess you wanted me to see was the bully scene, and
Yeah.
I thought it was okay, but
I like to, so I'll tell people that are watching this. So what it is that there's a deleted scene where the kids, the brothers and the sisters, this is after everybody hears about what's going on in their house and what's going on with Janet, and they're in the school in the playground, and the kid that bullies the stutterer comes up and starts calling Janet a witch, and he just keeps going witch, witch,
a bunch of them say
witch,
which.
and then everybody comes in and kind of surrounds them, calling her a witch. And they kind of, stop it, knock it off. This isn't funny or anything. And then out of nowhere, this little B word girl, has a bucket of paint and throws it on Janet. Like, where the hell did she get this bucket of paint from? but, and then she's all covered in this paint. And the two teachers come out. The girl with the paint said, with the bucket, she goes, go to my office. And then the teacher tells Janet, you're an instigator.
You
You
don't
go
come back
home.
until this is blown
Yeah.
over.
And I, except for a couple things, there's one, was she waiting with the bucket? I mean, that was kind of weird. Like, did she bring it from home? Like, why is she just there with like a bucket of red paint? But of course, that's what they would do to, people who'd have like fur, like real fur, like
Yeah.
PETA would go up and throw like blood on them. And then there was another weird angle on that where the camera's pulling back and the kids are kind of coming around the camera and getting more circled around it. And that just kind of seemed like an awkward shot. But I like the idea of it where I think something like Halloween Kills with like that whole mob mentality thing that they were trying to do,
Yeah, that did
where it
not work.
doesn't, yeah, it didn't work there. But I like the idea of the kids being the mob and throwing the paint on her and maybe even hurting her, if they weren't, if the teachers didn't break it up. So I see why it was cut because it didn't add anything to the film, but it's an interesting scene. So if they did do like an extended version or maybe even like a director's cut or something, I mean, I'm guessing this is the director's cut, but um, I think it'd be interesting to put that scene back in. Out of all the deleted footage, that's the only one that I found to be interesting.
Yeah, all the rest of it was mostly like them doing random stuff that had nothing to do with like
It's stuff that we already heard about, like the kids talking to the mom, oh, people don't like Janet, or we're getting more information from the Warrens and then like the British guy that was there.
mm,
And see, that's another scene I really liked is when Lorraine confronts the British guy, the scientist guy, and she's like, oh, are you only in this for money type of thing? And he
hmm
goes, well, no, actually, my daughter died several years ago in a car crash. And then weird things started to happen. Like I thought she was kind of to reach out to me. And I would like to know that she's somewhere. And it
What's
just shut her up
yeah.
because he's not that way. So I really like, I think this is so well written. It's such a
Um,
good movie.
my favorite scene in the whole movie is the scene where, you know, um, Janet is hearing stuff outside or whatever. Like she hears a knock on the door. She goes downstairs. She gets freaked out. She runs back into the room. She puts the what is it, the chair, in the door or whatever.
Mhm.
And then she like puts the covers over her head, and then she hears the door open. And as she looks over, the chair's right next to her.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you
because
can hear it like slide. Yeah.
you can hear a creak and everything. You can hear the whole chair slide over there or whatever. And then she's like, and the door's open or whatever. And so she goes back to hiding, and then the thing gets taken off her, the sheet. And she freaks out. She starts yelling, and her sister's like, "What? What's going on?" Not believing, like, so, man, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, the bed starts shaking and freaking them both out. So they run and grab their mother. The mother comes out, comes in to check, sees the spirit board, and says, "Yo, you guys are just messing around." Up until that like dresser goes whoosh.
Which was real, according to they in the making of, two of the daughters were on set.
And they said
So
that was a real
and
scene.
and they yeah they were really happy. Janet was there as an adult, and it was one of the
Oh,
other sisters. Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah. So they were invited to the set, and
Good.
which they do seem to do. I think there was another one of these where they invited the. Oh yeah, it was the Conjuring. Is where they the family like the dad was there, the mom was there. It's all in the making of, and yeah, they talk about how it slid, how the mom's like, "Stop what you're doing. We need to go to bed," and
Yeah.
then it slides across. This is the first my third time watching this, like I said, and I finally realized why all this started. Did you catch it?
No.
Because it was normal before. The older sister, the oldest one, and Janet never said goodbye on the spirit board.
Oh.
They're playing with it. Both of them like, is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? See, it doesn't work. And Janet just takes it and sticks it under the bed, and the camera kind of lingers on it for a second. And it took me a little bit. I went, she didn't say goodbye.
So that's it? You
That
think that was it?
she opened it. Yeah.
She
Because
opened
that's what
the
that doorway.
Now, okay. So I know you don't believe this stuff, so this is all fake to you anyway. But if this were real in your world, in your mind, would that be a thing? Like, would that, you play? Because I have somewhere in my room,
Well, you have
maybe
many crucifixes on your wall, and you have a strange man coming in through your back door.
that's true.
So, yeah.
Um, the crucifixes. Oh man, I love that. I love that scene where he walks in and he just notices all the crosses and everything, and I was just like, that's
But
awesome.
see, that's something that they didn't do as good in one of the later movies, because once again, they turned all the crosses. And
Yeah,
it was done really well in this, because when the Warrens enter the room and they're like, what's going on? Lorraine sees that one that's still rocking just a little bit, and then it stops. So she knows that something happened. So it's not as good as later on. I forget which
yeah,
film it was in, but it's not as good.
yeah. I forgot which one it was. It was one of the ones we already saw. I think maybe it was the nun. It was the nun. The nun had the cross
Oh yeah,
going.
at the beginning of it, yeah,
Yeah,
they
and it
turned,
was
yeah,
okay, but it wasn't.
which
It
I
was
guess fits since it's the nun and the
because the
nuns in
nun and the
this.
Conjuring 2 are similar, or whatever, the same
I think it's
same
supposed to be the same.
Valak,
I love that with the painting of the nun and the
Mm-hmm.
shadow
The
that
shadow
goes
comes
across the
in and
wall, and it's
yeah,
perfect, and the fingers come out around the painting, and that she runs with the painting.
that was so funny though. Like kind of made me laugh. Like I mean it wasn't supposed to, but it sort of made me laugh of like I was like, can you imagine some person being behind this thing running like toward the person toward Lorraine? Like you have to be scared of that at that particular moment, but you honestly know that there's a normal person behind there running at you.
You're
Yeah.
hoping it's a normal person.
It's,
Well, and you saw the Conjuring house painting, right?
right.
I was looking at the paintings because I was wondering, like, okay, what other, like, investigations are these paintings from?
Oh, neat.
But because it's Conjuring 2, and it
And that
was
was the
made
second one
second,
that they did.
you're
Like
not, yeah, if this was Conjuring 2 was made like 3 or 4 movies later, you might
you
see paintings of other things that we'd already seen as little Easter eggs.
Or they would have things of future, ones that are prequels that we haven't seen yet.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is the first film where we don't see Annabelle again. Oh well.
Kind of happy about that, a little bit. Not gonna lie.
But
I'm okay.
is in it. She's in it.
Where?
She's at the when he takes the Crooked Man toy. Right
Oh,
behind him is Annabelle.
I did not notice that.
Yeah. And he puts it next to the little toy that the girl was playing with in the Conjuring. And they're sitting together, the one with like the little
Right.
spinny thing on it. Yeah, as he's putting it down and kind of adjusting it. And I do like that he uses like a cloth. Like he uses the whatever he like he's not touching it with his hands. So he
Hmm.
takes the toy out and he puts it down and he takes the cloth off of it. But when he moves stuff around, he uses the cloth in his hand. So he
Cool.
doesn't touch the evil stuff. But yeah,
It's weirdly enough, I don't remember that, but
right behind him is Annabelle. And I'm like,
and
oh
that was
well,
at
I
the
guess
end. Was that the end?
very end. Yeah, when he goes into their museum.
Okay. I just don't, for some reason, I don't remember that, but like it, wasn't like I stopped watching or anything. It's just like there's so much, I guess, that the ending, all I remember from the ending is them at the ambulance and her giving, the little girl giving the hug because she was so excited and happy that that guy saved her life, or whatever,
Right.
that had saved her life. Um, and it was such a sweet little scene. I love that because like they don't already
Pardon me.
she's getting like these, you know, getting these kind of warnings, to stay away or not to whatever, like, because the nun is coming after her at her house, from the very beginning. So like Valak is already like attached to her, right? So when they go investigate, it's Valak that's doing all this shit, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, Valak's manipulating everything is I think the old man is confused. He
Yeah, he's
doesn't know what's
senile.
going on.
You
Yeah,
even have a
and
line where
so
is he senile? Well, that's a 11-year-old girl.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so I even felt sorry for him. Once
I
you realize that he's being manipulated and
I
probably kind of
did to an
tortured.
extent, but then I was like thinking, like, for a person who's just very confused, is like, hey, get out of my house. I was here first, kind of thing, which, like he knows he's dead, like he
I
knows.
I think that's a yes and no because he does mention when he's talking to Lorraine, he says, I came back and my family's not here.
And then she says she
So
could find her family, that maybe, he'd be put to rest. But then he also said he didn't believe in the afterlife, I guess, or whatever. He doesn't believe. He said he wasn't a heaven goer, which creeped me out for a second. As I
yeah,
was like,
I'm not a heaven type of guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, did he kill somebody or something? Is that why
No, he's
he's,
probably an atheist, maybe.
yeah. And so and then, well, I mean, I hate to say it, but I believe that because I'm a weird Christian. I'm not those kind of Christian, the thumping Christian that tells you that, if you don't believe in that Jesus was the Son of God and all this other shit, you're going to hell. I believe that if you do really good works and you're a really good person and you know, uh, you haven't tried to like screw everybody over and you're just not this piece of crap person, I believe you got a chance to go to heaven, you know. I
Well,
only think
it's nice you think that way because most Christians think the exact
I know
opposite.
exactly,
So,
exactly. That's why I don't get along with a lot of those Christians that, yell at me and tell me like because like honestly, I wasn't born that like I wasn't raised Christian. I was raised Unitarian. And so I sort of believe like, Jesus is a wonderful was a wonderful man. Yes, he did exist. He did do wonderful things. I believe in ghosts and shit, so like I want to believe in miracles and all this other shit that happened.
oh,
I really want to, like, because I've seen weird shit, in my life happen, so no, yeah, it's not, coincidences are only God staying anonymous, okay? So there you go. But
And I believe in none of it.
yeah, and you don't believe in any of it because you're an atheist. Neither does Paul. You know, um, but Paul likes, just like you, likes these supernatural type movies because it's to him is fake. It's just something to watch
Well,
and enjoy.
I think they're interesting because it's a different perspective, a different world. I love a film called The Remaining, which is actually made by Christians. It was made by a Christian organization. It has was it the girl from Spy Girls? Because now she's all
Oh,
grown up,
Alexa
but
Vega, whatever.
yeah, she's one of the leads in it, and it's about the rapture.
Nice.
And it's probably what I would consider to be the most realistic version of what the rapture would be. I mean, it's a horror movie. It's they're definitely trying to scare people with this film, and it's quite violent.
You
And
don't think this is the end was is the most like what is going to be like when the end of the world is happening?
for people who live in Hollywood, yes.
All of them are going to get that world because, that's what they deserve. Um but anyway, no, I love that and I love I would definitely check out The Remains. I'm just The Remaining, is that what it is?
The Remaining, yeah.
Yeah. I I particularly I believe in go I like to believe in ghosts because I like to believe that, we don't that we don't all just, live and die, 'cause to me that's sort of boring. I don't want to believe that, you know. I want to believe in more, and everything. Um
I
now
like to believe in facts
because,
and science.
what's the
So
whole thing? Like I've heard like, if I believe in God and he doesn't exist when I die, then nothing. But if I don't believe in God and he exists, I'm in trouble.
well, there's a word for that, and I'm blanking on what it is. And that's actually kind of brought up in The Remaining. So that's one of the things in it is, what if I did everything right, but I don't fully believe? And she still gets stuck on Earth. She doesn't, the rapture does not take the spy girl, um, or the spy kids
Spoiler
girl.
alert.
So it's well, she brings it up. It's not much of it. I mean, she's there for a reason, but it's yeah. I just think that everything can be proven through science and trial and error and facts and all that type of stuff. So for me, these type of things are fascinating to watch.
Um,
So
so this will go back to The Conjuring, but I just watched with Paul for Film Freaks, the first episode that we're going to be doing for Film Freaks. Unfortunately, it the sound got messed up, so we got to redo it. But we did Legend of Hell House, which
great movie.
yeah, great movie. But that's the whole thing is like the guy trying to prove science, right? If this is scientific, not, you know, paranormal or supernatural, there's nothing like that. Everything can be defined as, scientifically. And so when we were watching that, I kept thinking, I bet James Wan is a fan of this movie, like or
Well,
something.
most likely it's famous. It's based on Richard Matheson's novel Hell House.
Hmm.
So, which is his novel that's taken from The Haunting of Hill House, in the same way that Stephen King wrote The Shining. Well, actually, Rose Red is his version of it. So it's once again, it's homaging, or whatever you want to call it, but it's yeah, it's got a great writer on it. So it's
Mm,
Matheson, who's, in
yeah,
my opinion, the best writer I've ever read. So
there you
it's
go. I
yeah.
had never seen it, but I was super excited because I knew of it. Like I've heard of it and everything.
Well,
But
somebody asked me, they said, what if the rapture did happen? What if all this stuff did happen? And if that was the case, I would then believe in God, but I would hate that God. and I would have a lot of problems and a lot of questions, and I would not do whatever that God told me to do.
What if he
I
just sent
would
you to hell and you burn in hell
you
for all of
you
eternity?
you don't really well watch the remaining because a lot of that stuff is brought up in it.
Right. Okay.
But it's there.
Is
There's
that on
there's
available on a streaming platform?
might be on Netflix. I mean, it is considered it is a horror movie, so it's just a really good horror. Just like surprisingly, I saw the trailer. I really liked it. I bought the Blu-ray. There's a making of on it.
Casey Lascala directed it. Okay, I gotta
Who?
watch it. So Casey Lascala is he was a former skater or something, but he directed my favorite skate movie, which is called Grind, back in 2004.
Yep, I remember.
And
Yeah.
he directed this as well, and now totally excited
Oh,
to check
okay.
it out because I love Grind is one of my favorite movies of all time. Um, Not a lot of people are like, why would that be? That movie's well, right? Love it to death. It is just so funny and so just
I know of it. Yeah, I never saw it though. So
Jessica Morris,
I
or
I
just
didn't know. Oh, she's Jessica Morris, isn't it?
not Jessica Morris, Jennifer Morrison.
Oh,
There's
okay.
two. There's they sound very similar. Jessica Morris, I know personally. I've had on my radio show and stuff. I have not had Jennifer Morrison on my show yet.
I know Jessica too. I've worked with her twice.
Nice.
Um, yeah. So, all right, man. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Rating for me is very simple. 5 out of 5.
I was thinking that too. There was some things like I almost went down to 4.5 in our discussion because we did kind of discuss stuff that were problems with the movie a little bit. But even those problems I think are you know, above and beyond everything else that the Conjuring universe has shown us, and
Well, yeah,
everything.
my rating is within that universe. It's not
Yeah.
my 5 out of 5 is not saying like 5 out of 5 for Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
You know,
Like it's not going to be up there with Citizen Kane, but it when I honestly it's really bad, but a lot of these movies are not going to be like even my top 100 films of all time, I don't think. Maybe top 100, but maybe Conjuring 2 might break that somewhere in there, but not low in the top 100, right? You know. But I would say yeah, 5 out of 5 as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Um, at times, like it had some good moments, that kind of made me laugh. There was so it needed that at times, it needed little moments of funny things. I liked all the characters. I loved all the villains. Um, I don't know if I'd want to see a whole movie with the Crooked Man. I just I felt like he was fine in this movie where he just shows
yeah.
up and he's just like whatever and that's it. But I got a little like if I had a whole movie with them, I feel like I'd be kind of bored, you know?
Well, knows maybe that's why they canceled it. They just couldn't really come up with anything. I mean, he's has a whole thing in this. I mean, it's not like it's just one scene. So, yeah, it's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then
So I
next
like
week, ugh,
yeah. Next week we've got the worst apparently of the Conjuring movies. I don't know if it'll
I
be
would
the
say so.
worst.
I I watched it the first time, and then I watched it the second time when I was seeing if these fit all together, and I turned it off 20 minutes before it ended because I knew how it ended. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done. And then I just kind of turned it off. I just got kind of exhausted with it.
It's interesting that it's the director from Annabelle Comes Home, and he's also doing The Nun too. So I'm like, is this guy just directing all the spin-offs and stuff, all the movies, like period? Like, you know, um,
Guess that's all that there is right now unless they come up with something brand new.
yeah.
Because even the Crooked Man would be a spinoff.
Yeah, and there was nothing I don't think in this one that can be a spin-off for the new one, right? For like there can't be a spin-off from the next one, I don't think. So
No, and
there's
they I guess they got rid of Valak, so which I still don't understand why the Valak kind of latched onto Lorraine. I don't get that, but That's never really explained. None of this
Yeah, it's
kind of.
never really explained why she was at the house,
Yeah, just all
and
of a sudden she has the dream. She wakes up. Ed's painting the picture. She's like, "Oh my god, that was in my dream," and then she
and
sees
then
her in the
then she
hallway, and
gets called, like they get called to come investigate from America to England. It's a little bit of a stretch, I would say.
well, I mean, I guess if you're Mulder and Scully, I mean, you would go to different places because you're well known.
All right,
I mean, they did take on the case. I don't believe it was this much, but
right.
they it is one of their cases.
Well, there you go. Everybody, we said our piece on it. Oh, we forgot to look up the
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
guess
I got
yeah,
it right
go
here.
ahead, look it up.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. Well, I
Yeah,
completely
you
forgot
usually
about
do
that.
it, so I'm like, oh wait, I
I
forgot.
know. All right, so Conjuring 2, the budget on that was 40 million. That's still pretty small since you got movies that are like, 60 million, 80 million.
100, 300 million,
Yeah.
like
And
fucking
it's
Avatar.
yeah, and its budget, I'm sorry, and its box office was $321.8 million.
So yeah, it made some money. Um, over 300 million,
The
or whatever. Um,
321. Let me see. Okay, there's Conjuring. So 321 to Conjuring's. It made more money than the Conjuring. Conjuring was 319.
so it made more money than Conjuring, which that's remember because after this they ended up doing the prequels and stuff, the side
Right.
stories and everything with Annabelle and um, well, which one came first, Annabelle or this one? Did this one come first?
I got my little thing here. So let's see. Um, you're talking about in real life, right?
Yeah, and first in the terms of the actual making the movie.
So
So yeah, so
Conjuring,
Annabelle, so it went Conjuring, Annabelle, Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation,
yeah, Creation was 2017.
and then Annabelle Comes Home must
Home
be
2019
yeah, and then The Nun was before then, right? It was like 2018, I want to
was
say.
2008. Yeah.
Yeah, um so anyway, they done The Conjuring. They said, "Oh, okay, we got this chick, the Annabelle, that's a big hit. Let's make the Annabelle movie." They make Annabelle, then they make a then they make Conjuring 2. That does really fucking well, in the box office, right? Kills it. They say, "All right, well, we can go and make Annabelle Creation, give a little backstory with Annabelle." That does okay, I guess. I think that did well, you know. Then they go and make what is it?
Goes
Uh
home.
yeah, Comes Home, The Nun, and then no, The Nun then comes home, and then uh Curse of La Llorona, and then I think Conjuring 3. So the devil made me do it.
Yeah, because they had two within the same year, which is why I think maybe La Llorona didn't do as well because it was Annabelle Comes Home, which made money, and then Curse of La Llorona. So it's 2019. So we got a double whammy. So I think people were just like, ugh, you know,
Hmm.
should have released it a year later.
Nope, I agree.
Probably would have done better.
Nope. Well,
So
thank you for this. This has been awesome. Everybody else, we've almost talked for 2 hours this time. Sometimes we go a little over, but
yeah,
it's fine. You know, I'm just happy that this is continuing, and we got some cool shit. Hopefully you guys will be back for next week's. Uh, even though this might be the least viewed one. Well, not this one, not The Conjuring 2, but The Conjuring 3 might be the least viewed one. Who knows? Or maybe sometimes people like to hear people talk about their least favorite, you know,
Oh,
ones.
I always look for those. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know something's good. I don't need to hear somebody tell me that it's good.
yeah,
I want to hear why
exactly.
somebody thinks it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it'll be more, I don't know. Maybe that's what people are gonna be looking up, Conjuring 3. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for checking this out. Join us next week for a brand new episode. Until then, everybody, bye bye.
Bye. Bye.